You ever walk into a room and know, just know, every pair of eyes is sizing you up, writing you off, waiting for you to slip? That's what it felt like for Zyron Blackwood the morning she showed up at the range. Not that she let it show. She just stood there, clipboard in hand, taking in the SEAL team lined up in front of her. 6 of the best, apparently, though from the way they snickered when one of them said, "Back to the kitchen," you'd think they were still in high school, not the most elite shooters in the Navy. She didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Just picked up his rifle, stepped to the line, and squeezed the trigger. 2 miles out, a steel target that had laughed at every man all day burst into dust. The silence that followed, you could feel it. You could almost taste it. And as she handed back the rifle and walked away, she left behind the seeds of a legend that would haunt every ego on that line. Now, you might wonder, how does someone get to that point? To walk into a lion's den like she belongs there. Truth is, Zyron, ZY, if she liked you, spent most of her life underestimated. She'd heard it all, the looks, the snide comments, the polite doubts hidden behind tight smiles. But none of it mattered. Not to her. Because she'd grown up learning to read more than faces. She could read the wind, the light, the math behind every moving part in the universe. The only thing she couldn't calculate was how to make people believe what she could do until she showed them. That morning, as Commander Briggs made his introductions, "This is Miss Blackwood, Department of Defense Consultant, here to observe your long-range qualification." ZY felt the usual heat on her back. Skeptical glances, smirks about her civilian clothes. Even the lead shooter, Lieutenant Mercer, giving her a handshake meant to crush her fingers. He couldn't help himself, apparently. Had to remind her whose world this was supposed to be. But let me back up a sec. The truth is, Zyron was the product of something bigger, something the military once called Project Longshot. Way back, someone in a lab coat figured out there are people whose brains just work different. They see the math, the trajectory, the weather, the spin drift, the physics, like colors the rest of us can't see. She was Subject 7, only she didn't think of herself as a subject. She thought of herself as someone trying to prove she could be more than a number in a file. All morning, the SEALs shot well, until that final 2-mile target. Every man missed. Some got close, but close doesn't count. And every time, ZY made notes, adjusted her equipment, watched the wind swirl, listened to the little comments. The tension was thick enough to chew. Mercer, the golden boy, couldn't land a single shot at that last plate, and his frustration started boiling over. "You got something to say?" He snapped at her, like it was her fault physics didn't care about rank. And then came the real twist. Colonel Wolf rolled up in a black SUV, silver-haired and sharper than any man there. She clocked ZY immediately, recognition in her eyes. When Mercer took his cheap shot, back to the kitchen, Wolf didn't miss a beat. "Ms. Blackwood, any recommendations for the team?" she asked, slicing through Mercer's bravado like butter. But before ZY could answer, Mercer jumped in again, trying to shut her down. It was textbook, really. Man sees threat, man interrupts. But Colonel Wolf wasn't having it. "I didn't ask you, Lieutenant." And with that, ZY stepped forward. "May I demonstrate something?" she asked, quiet as you please. Permission granted. She took Mercer's custom Barrett, checked it over like a seasoned mechanic with a new engine, ran her own calculations. Wind, temperature, barometric pressure, the whole cocktail. The men exchanged looks, some even smirking. Then, without a sound, she became stone still, a statue, breathing slow, heart steady. One breath, one squeeze. The target 2 miles away vanished in a cloud of dust. The spotter said nothing. Mercer's face turned to chalk. Wolf just watched, a small smile playing at her lips. Commander Briggs looked like he'd seen a ghost. "What just happened?" he whispered. Wolf answered, "That was the most classified weapons program in DoD history. Not the rifle, the shooter." And right then, the room changed. Respect didn't come easy, but shock did the trick. After that, Wolf pulled ZY aside. 12 years ago, we started Project Longshot," she said, "to find people who could do what you just did. ZY didn't look away. I was subject 7, the only one left. Wolf nodded. And we need you again. One shot, one target, impossible parameters. ZY held her gaze, cold and clear. On one condition. After this, I choose. Stay or go. Wolf agreed. That night, briefing room lights humming, ZY sat with Mercer's team. The mission was simple on paper. Neutralize Alexander Volov, an arms dealer hiding in a mountain fortress in the Caucasus. No way in by air, ground, or drone. Only a single shot from almost 3 miles away could do the job. It's not possible, someone said. Not for a normal shooter, Wolf replied, her eyes on ZY. Mercer was still skeptical, but ZY cut him off. It's not luck. It's math. She explained what she saw, how she calculated, how her mind worked. They didn't create me, she said later in the armory. They found me, used me, then tossed me aside. Mercer hesitated, then apologized, not just for himself, but for every time someone like him had written someone like her off. She brushed it aside. I'm here to do a job. That's all. They set out before dawn, hiking through mountains, avoiding patrols, the whole thing straight out of a spy thriller. ZY carried her rifle, head full of equations. The team, at first distant, started seeing her differently. When a patrol blocked their way, ZY suggested a rock slide for a distraction. One shot. Boom. Rocks tumbled, and the path was cleared out on the final ridge. Waiting for sunrise, she lay behind her rifle, reading the weather, the terrain, every variable. Mercer finally got it. She wasn't a machine. She was something else, something rare. At exactly 7:30, Volov stepped onto the terrace. ZY's world narrowed. One breath, one squeeze. 3 miles away, Volov fell, dead before he hit the ground. Extraction was chaos, alarms, helicopters, search parties swarming. ZY led the team through mountain shadows, timed their movements to cloud cover, spotted an ambush before anyone else did. Every call she made was right. Every calculation perfect. They reached the extraction point just as the chopper arrived, slipping away into the night. Back at base, Wolf offered her the future. Stay and lead, or walk away free. Mercer tried one last time to apologize. You don't owe me anything, ZY told him. You owe every woman you ever underestimated. When he asked her to join them on another mission, she paused, just for a heartbeat. I'm not a weapon, she said. I'm a choice. My choice. For the first time, she let herself feel hope, even pride as the plane took off. ZY looked out over the mountains where she'd made her impossible shot. The world would remember the legend, but she'd remember the feeling of finally being seen, not just for what she could do, but for who she was. And maybe, just maybe, that was the real victory. So, what about you? Ever met someone who never asked for recognition, but deserved more than anyone else? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about who really makes the impossible possible.